Today, the Creative Assembly and the developer of Rome Total War Remastered, Feral Interactive, held a question and answer session on the official Total War Discord to talk about the Rome Total War Remaster and clear up some misconceptions. While some people had mixed feelings about the remaster before, I really think this Q&A session has cleared up a lot of the issues the community had, and it has certainly made me even more excited for the possibilities. In this video, I will talk about the answers that stuck out to me and make me excited for not only the game itself, but also the modding possibilities. Let's get into it. One of the most important issues people were concerned about was that the remaster would retain the hard-coded limits of the original Rome Total War, including faction limits, region limits, etc. Feral Interactive confirmed in this Q&A session that they will be lifting the original hard-coded limits. Edwin from Feral says, "Yes, we're lifting the limits from the original game to allow for more factions and settlements to be added to maps, more information in due course. We will also be monitoring and keeping in contact with the modding community post-release, with the help of CA's community team, to see what features modders need to bring all their amazing mods to life and trying to support where we can." This is an exceptionally important answer. Some people were skeptical that the remaster would lift these limits and increase the modding possibilities, but that seems to be exactly what they've done. This is excellent news and greatly increases our chances of seeing some truly epic mods. Of course, the next important issue has to do with the editing of the campaign map, and Feral Interactive has provided an answer that satisfies what most modders have been looking for. Tom from Feral says, "Yes, in some aspects, the new campaign map should be more moddable or at least flexible to artistic and design edits. To give a brief overview of how the original map system worked, the map was divided into thousands of tiles, each tile with its own metadata, which included biome information, topology, etc. The game would take a base texture as input to a basic shader, and in combination with the metadata, computed a tile texture and 3D mesh, which would be interpolated with surrounding tiles. This topography metadata was also used for the battle map generation. This system is retained for the remaster. This was extremely computationally inefficient and inflexible. The remaster has maintained the underlying tile system and its metadata, so modders should be able to redefine the contents of each tile or add new ones as needed. There are now 104 4K textures which were procedurally generated offline and are assets within game data. This should allow for more artistic control, as viewing the assets outside of the app should be representative of how they look in-game, as there are no further computation steps. For any dynamic content, such as farm development levels, devastation, etc., we have added an overlay system, which also is possible to be leveraged by mods. We also have 104 static meshes for the whole map, so modders can swap them out for their own as needed. Finally, we have a simple flag which modders can set to regenerate a height map file so that items are correctly placed and move around on new map topology. The added complexity of this new system will come from ensuring that the tile locations and scale are in agreement with the mesh and texture assets. However, we believe that you should be able to export out a texture of the new tile layout and use this as the basis from which to make the map geometry. Now, this big answer is full of technical jargon, but long story short, the map should be moddable as before, and perhaps even more so due to the new system. I'm very excited about this. Now, a lot of people were in a hissy fit about the arrow trails being added into the game. Of course, projectile trails were added in the Warscape engine, and some people really don't like them. Well, here's what Feral had to say about that. A Warley from Feral says, "Yes, although I am not sure it has been shown in any of the videos so far, they can be disabled from the gameplay settings menu. This is true for the vast majority of the additions or improvements we have added. We want to ensure the player can configure their version of Rome and opt into or out of changes as they prefer. So you can disable the projectile trails if you want. Excellent. Some people were concerned that there had been some changes made to the adoption system, namely that they had been made automatic, and you could no longer choose who to adopt into your family. Farrell has an answer for that as well. Edwin Smith from Farrell says adoptions work the same as the original game, and you can review and accept or reject potential candidates. However, in the original game, if your ratio of family members to regions owned goes past a threshold, the game will automatically accept the next candidate. We noticed this exact scenario happened on a YouTube stream, and it caused people to assume that the feature was removed when it wasn't. So in fact there has been no change to the adoption system. Some people were concerned that Man of the Hour is not in the remaster, where a captain who has won a nice battle, can be promoted. Let us alleviate those concerns. Edwin Smith says, yes, Man of the Hour is still here. Someone asked about a remaster for Medieval 2. The Creative Assembly answered this question, stating, we do not currently plan to remaster any other classic Total War games. Now pay attention to this answer. They say that they don't currently plan to remaster any other classic Total War games. This, of course, can change in the future, and perhaps in the near future. One other critical point is the AI. A lot of people were concerned that nothing has been done to improve the Rome Total War AI in the remaster, which, as most people know, is not the greatest to the AI in the original Rome Total War. Here is Farrell's answer to that question. Yes, we have investigated and worked on campaign map AI and in particular diplomacy. All these changes can be enabled or disabled when starting a new campaign. These are a selection 1 features with the AI system, which we have looked into and attempted to address. Negotiations now have a concept of long-term relationships so factions can build up or lose trust with each other over multiple turns. The AI can be more decisive when needed and is less likely to oscillate between two different objectives. You're more likely to be able to convince a small faction to become a protectorate, but they also have the ability to analyze the situation and may turn on you if they see a better alliance could be made. The AI will now attack across seas. Wow, that's a big one. Diplomacy updates with the concept of settling debts both financial and territorial. Armies strategize better to form up into larger armies and coordinate attacks or formulate longer-term macro strategies. All changes have been focused on making sure the AI is more consistent and logical with its approach, and that their actions are usually in keeping with their reputation. This is awesome to hear. Now, they had confirmed that they had overhauled the diplomacy and thus the diplomatic AI, but to hear that the campaign AI has been improved and that it builds larger, more consolidated armies and actually conducts naval invasions is great to hear. Truly excellent news, and I'm loving everything I'm hearing so far. And the good news continues in regards to the battle AI. Tom from Farrell says, as with campaign AI, we have made some alterations to battle AI, also toggleable when entering a game mode. It was a conscious decision to keep the original engine. We wanted the remaster to remain true to Rome 1, and the engine is integral to how the game feels. We have made substantial efforts where possible to fix known issues or add complementary optional systems. We spent considerable time understanding the original codebase to ensure the changes made were compatible and complementary to the original and its design intentions. With respect to Battle AI, we have improved specific self-contained behavior and made smaller incremental improvements to the overall experience while avoiding side effects. We know there is a long list of AI behaviors that many of you might want addressed, so this will be something that we'll be monitoring and taking into consideration. Some examples of areas we have investigated are phalanx formation realignment, tower and wall pathfinding, settlement breach point pathfinding. Now listen, I'm not expecting any miracles here in terms of the AI. But hearing that they've at least worked on both the campaign and battle AI gives me a lot of hope that the AI in the remaster will be somewhat competent, and more competent than the original Rome Total War. This is excellent news. Some people were concerned that they would release the game and leave it at that, with little to no post-release support. Farrell has also alleviated these concerns. Edwin Smith says, Rome Remastered will be supported post-release. We have a long history of supporting our games post-release with patches, and Rome Remastered will be no different. Good to hear. There were also some other important questions asked and answered during the session. I'll finish up by talking about those briefly, or some of those anyway. Naval battles will not be in the game. Co-op campaigns are currently not in the game, but they have taken the idea into consideration due to the feature's popularity in the newer Total War games. They have polished a lot of the original animations. The game will take advantage of newer hardware far better than the original. The vast majority of the added features, including merchants and the new balanced population mechanic regarding recruitment, will be toggleable. The audio quality of the soundtrack has been improved, and new tracks that were recorded for the original game but were not utilized have been added. Modding tools will be provided for editing models. Well, that's that. Of course, there were other questions that I didn't mention here, but I didn't want to just read the whole thing and bog the video down. I hope you enjoyed the video and liked what Farrell and CA had to say about Rome Total War Remastered. You can find the answers to the Q&A discussion in the description below. There are definitely a lot of modding possibilities here, and a lot of info to process and unpack as well. The improved AI is also much appreciated, as well as the hard-coded limits being lifted. I'm definitely looking forward to the game quite a bit. Stay tuned to the channel for more coverage. See you in the next one.